The brothers Wisp. The brothers Wisp, brothers Wisp. The brothers Wisp. The brothers.
You're now listening to Greg. It's the
Hey everybody,
Brothers Wisp.
this
Let's take
is
a
Greg
ride through space
from
on this
Texas,
mothership.
and this happens to be the Brothers Wisp podcast number 140. Still seems, every time we hit kind of an even 10-digit increment, it still seems ridiculous how many of these things we've put out there into the universe, and yet we still aren't in prison, so something's going right. Today we have one Colin Zapalak. I said it right, correct? All right.
Yes, sir.
Colin is, that finger, he's right there. Where are you from, bud?
Texas, but I'm in Destin, Florida
Are you
today.
really?
Yeah, I was in Cancun, Mexico last week, so I'm just getting all
How's
over the
Flow
place.
Rider treating you?
It's hot. Well, it's not as hot as it's been in Texas, but it's more humid. So, and I've been working outside, so.
Awesome. So it's actually work. It's not you're not relaxing.
Yeah, this is a work trip. In fact, I'm actually in one of our MDUs right now. They were kind enough to give us friend pricing for a 2-week stay.
I hear anytime you go to Florida, it's work. It's never an easy thing.
Oh, it is so crowded here, man.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm on one of the far bits of Destin, and where all the fun stuff is in Destin is 8 miles away. It's almost 30-minute drive because of how long it takes to get through the traffic.
It's crowded. Forget it. It's like Office Space. You're just getting beat by the guy walking on the curb. All right. Well, we also have Mikey. You heard him for just a second there. Mikey Hammett from Chicagoland.
I forgot to think of something else other than, hey, how's it going?
Why does this surprise you every single time?
I guess what is probably most surprising is the fact that it took me so long to realize that I just had the same thing every time. And so now it's I'm going to have at least that long to think of something else
I
to
honestly
say.
don't think there's any problem with consistency. I think I intro the stuff pretty much the same time every time. And there was a YouTuber I talked to, Blondie Hacks, Quinn Donkey, and she said that she purposely went out of her way to make sure that her intro was the same every time, just to I don't know, make it warm and familiar, I guess, sort of thing. So maybe that's what you're doing, just unconsciously.
I did watch that podcast, so maybe that's ingrained in me.
No. You've been doing it long before you watched that podcast.
Well, maybe that's why I can't
Nice
change
try.
that.
Oh, yeah. It's solidified things. Well, it totally makes sense to me. I'm down. I dig it. All right. Let's get the intro stuff out of the way. We have a new patron. So if you go to patreon.com/brotherswisp, throw some bones, you get access to the patron-only Slack. And our newest member is Jack from Arizona. So he's a pretty interesting cat who lives a interesting double life there. So it would be I think there'll be some fun stuff coming out of this guy. He sounds like he does a lot of information collection, sort of SCADA-ish stuff, but not really SCADA. So he's doing a lot of IoT-based things. So I think he would be interesting to talk to, maybe pick his brain. So again,
You're trying very hard to stay in the PC side of that.
well, I don't know, man. Not everybody wants to, I want them to speak their own truth. I don't want me to speak their truth. So it's I don't know. You know what I mean? It's I don't know what people are comfortable with putting out in the universe. I don't want to be the one to out them in any specific way. So I'll just let that dog lie right there. If you guys are interested, get in the Slack and you will quickly understand what we're talking about. We also have some sponsors. So I'm gonna do a speed run here, see how many I can get through of these. We have Sonar.software. It's a scalable, intuitive, comprehensive ISP operational and support system. So definitely pop over to Sonar.software. Check those kids out. We also have QuickBit, KWIKBIT. They are a manufacturer of indoor and outdoor 60 gigahertz kit. It's actually pretty cool stuff, pretty industrialized, but still pretty compact. Crazy feature set for the price. You also get a full API, deployment tools, solid distance, which is really important for that 60 gigahertz kit, and you could do a solid 8 clients and it doesn't get weird on you when you get to that eight client mark. But again, that is kwikbit.com. We also have Tower Coverage. TowerCoverage.com is your RF propagation system to empower your network. Real-time data metrics enable your coverage area, reaching your customer base, and more. The industry's best RF propagation mapping system allows website integration for customer sign-up and pre-qualification. Use this data to scientifically plan network expansion and help your WISP succeed. Get a free trial today at TowerCoverage.com. All right. Let's do the things. So front matter, something that's fresh on my mind, as I was talking to one Justin Miller, and it looks like he might be going to Palooza this year. And I know that's going to be somewhere in October-y sort of land. And Red Hat, my current employer, is allowing me to travel and go to conferences and stuff. And not only that, they encourage me to go to conferences and evangelize the word of our Lord and Savior Ansible. So I'm thinking this would be a good opportunity to get back out into the world and see my people, see my friends. So I was curious if anybody else was actually planning on heading out there, because I think everything's pretty loose and open back up out in Vegas as far as I know. But by the time October hits, who knows what's going to be going on. This rapidly changing landscape we find ourselves in. I was just curious if you guys had any thoughts about going, if you were planning to or not.
I don't know. I've already kind of penciled in the month before doing IWCE in Vegas, so I think it'd be kind of hard for me to get the people who sign the checks and pay the bills to go for a second month in Vegas.
Refresh me. What's IWC?
International Wireless Expo something. It's mainly two-way radio guys, but all in SCADA stuff. But all your backhaul guys typically go there. So you run into Aviat and Ciclu, Dragon Wave. They'll be there, and then you'll have your really big names and expensive names. I've run into quite a few smaller vendors. I think I ran into Baltic Networks the other year, and EPCOM, so El Paso Communications, since they've gotten very heavy into serving the Central American market with Mikrotik and Ubiquity equipment now. So there's a lot of everyone who goes to those shows these days. So
gotcha. Is it pretty? Compare it size-wise to Palooza. Would you say it's about the same, bigger, smaller?
So the only WISP show I've been to is the spring show that they had in Dallas, and I assume that one's smaller than WISP, than the regular fall show is. So it's probably, it takes up half of the north wing of the Las Vegas Convention Center when they throw the IWCE show. So it's a pretty large amount of floor space that they use.
Very cool. All right. How about you, Mikey? You planning on going or not? I know you're busy these days.
I am busy, but I am planning on going. Yeah, it hasn't come up. Yeah, because I missed the last few. I didn't make it to the spring show. Didn't make it to obviously any of the shows last year. So it's been a little while for me. Probably go. Well, the current plan is to go a few days early. I've got a friend that lives in Vegas, and take Kate, meet with my friend and his wife, and then likely another friend and his wife out there. Do a few things before the show, and then Kate may or may not stick around for it, but
that's cool. I got a homie that lives out there now too. I might the dude's kind of wild. I think he's got pink hair right now, so he might be pretty interesting to hang around. I figured the locals are probably going to know the best food, and that's really what I'm mostly interested in. Last time we went, I don't know if you were with us on that one, Mikey, but we went to Korean barbecue place at like 11 at night, and it was delicious. I still think about that place.
I don't think I was with you that. I mean, I was in Vegas at that time, but I don't think I went to that excursion with you. I went with Miller to a Korean barbecue place a different time, though, I think.
Well, you've been a lot more than I have, and Miller goes pretty much every year, so it wouldn't surprise me.
I think I've been to Vegas every year that they've had it. Obviously not last year because they didn't have it, but yeah, I've been there most of the time.
Rock and roll. I'd be curious about the listeners who's planning on going. Not just the guys in the Slack, but you know the regulars, because there's a lot of nameless, faceless guys that listen all the time that we don't get an opportunity to interact with very often. So I don't know, man. It'd be cool to have a little meetup, find everybody there. I wonder what the best way to do that is. Like I know going through the Slack would be really easy, but not everybody's in our Slack. So I wonder what the best way of kind of coordinate all that would be. What do you think, Mike? Or maybe just something to marinate on. Think about it for a minute.
Sure, yeah. Try to figure out something we could do. Some sort of get together thing. Maybe some cheap swag.
Would that be any swag from you because you're so cheap?
I think I'm incapable of doing anything that cheap.
All right, rock and roll. I get you. So while we're talking about Plooza, that got me thinking that I'm actually probably going to start doing some professional business traveling here pretty soon. And I want to be as light as possible. So I'm dieting heavily. No, what I mean is like to travel light. I want to, just kind of like my laptop bag and maybe one carry-on. And so I ended up, my old laptop bag, it served me well. What is this thing? It's an old Targus. And like some of the zipper teeth are bad. And so like it would get stuck. And it's been through the ringer. It looks like holy hell. I couldn't walk in front of a customer with this. I was happy dragging it into telecom closets and data centers, stuff like that where it didn't matter. But, I don't want to look like I stole a hobo's bag, out on the street when I walk in. So I upgraded to this thing called a Verky. I'm a big fan of bags with wheels. Like I got kind of a crappy like neck, and so like when I carry laptop with all my crap in there, it like kind of wears on me. So I do the thing with the wheels, and so that kind of limits your options. But it looks like it's got enough space for maybe a change of clothes. Certainly, I can't fit my shoes in there. That's the dilemma. I wear size 14 shoes, and it's like they don't fit into a bag where I fit other things. It's just not. So I'm thinking the laptop bag and one carry-on, and I'm pretty sure I could do like a few days just out of that. What do you guys do when you're traveling? Like I try and stay as light as possible. What's so weird too is I had to pare everything down. It's like I had to remember that I'm not like on these customer calls, I'm not fixing people's networks, right? Like I'm not going in there and I've got to be prepared for every scenario where all this crap's going to be broken. So I need all this test kit and all this. So it's like, it was so hard to like, I think I understand the mindset of like a hoarder at this point. It's like, but I need that. I might need it. It's like, I couldn't let go of that 5-year-old Snickers wrapper. It was like, I got to keep it. No, but it was so weird to kind of pare everything down. But I've got it pretty light where I've got only 3 Mikrotiks in there. One is like my travel router. And then I've got 2 very small ones. Don't judge me. They're very small. So they're compact. They fit in there tightly. I've got like a few network cables, like really small. Right now I've got a Cisco console cable in there. I don't know why. Don't ask me why, but it's in there. It doesn't take much room up, so I'm keeping it. I've got some optics. Again, I can't force myself to not put them in there. But then I've just got like my regular charging cables and, just the stuff you actually need for travel, which is pretty light. I'm just curious, like, what do you guys put in your bag when you're going to travel for work? Like, I'm going to take a plane ride. So that means it's definitely going to limit any sharp stabby sort of things that you might put in your bag. You're probably not going to. So like for me, whenever I'm doing work, I always have my Leatherman. So the idea of going and performing work without it is like foreign to me and I hate it, but I don't want to check a bag either. So I'm not bringing any sharp stuff. So I'll just do it without. Maybe I'll take a pair of tiny fingernail clippers, and I'll just clip my way through everything. It'll be great. Tell me about your travel bags. What do you guys do? If you're in my situation, what are you looking at?
I'm a backpack guy, so I typically do some kind of backpack. What I've been using here for the past 8-9 years is Drago gear. It's called a 3-day pack. It's sized for 3 days of supplies for like a scout or something, but it's got a laptop pocket in it, and so I can fit a couple of changes of clothes, a couple days worth of clothes in it if I need to, and just the shoes I'm wearing. And that'll last me a couple of days if I need to. I have a smaller one that I'll swap out with if I don't need it, but the Drago's black, and the smaller, which is considered a day pack, is FDE, and I got hassled in a Caribbean country trying to go shopping because it was just the small backpack I grabbed off the cruise ship, and they're like, you cannot bring military paraphernalia it was Barbados, by the way, into our country. And I was like, I'm sorry. Can you post that as a sign, or let the cruise company know to make sure they make an announcement, please? I can walk it back. That's not a problem, but they let me through. But I learned don't take that color.
Yeah, the military paraphernalia, no, but the bong in your right hand, that was fine. They let you right through that.
Well, they were also cracking down on people who were just wanting to fly drones. And take video with the drones. They don't like that. Not that I have one, but they don't like that. But other than that, so I'll take just a standard 21-inch Travel Pro. Typically, I've been using the one that my dad bought in '96, and I was going through O'Hare a couple of years ago, and it flung all the rubber off the wheels, and I was like, I think this Travel Pro is probably on its last leg. But I still use it, and it's just I don't like the 4-wheel jobs. I rather have the 2-wheel when I have to actually have a suitcase. But inside of my backpack, I usually have at least one RB450 and some various cables. I've been starting to carry a map light with me, and your standard serial adapter, and then a Cisco console cable. The basics, the Ethernet adapter for my laptop, since it's one of those fancy new things that doesn't have the built-in Ethernet port on it. And then, of course, the charger. And maybe a notepad in case I want to write something down. But that's about it these days. I think I have optics in my backpack right now.
Your 3-day pack, is it something that's like carry-on? Is that small enough to do that?
Yeah. It fits under the seat. What I usually do is I put my suitcase in the overhead, and I stuff that under the seat, and a little bit more, but most of the time, a little bit more than regulation if it's not turned completely sideways. But I've never been hassled about it.
They're not going to worry about an inch or so. So this is my AC Squared, my travel router. Keep it in my sweet Blockbuster case, because you got to have a little piece of flair. And of course, movie of choice, Focus, Jurassic Park, obviously. What else would it be? Because I spared no expense. And then you open it up, got my ports inside there.
Oh,
that's cool.
Yeah,
nice.
So that I've got it configured so that whenever I hook it up like Ether 1, or I connect the wireless in to like their guest network or whatever, it'll automatically create a whole bunch of VPN tunnels. And I just have static routes with precedence levels, like administrative distance levels, so that the more secure the tunnel is, the higher the precedence, right? So it'll always prefer the route over the most secure tunnel. So I don't have to try.
You get the best performance and security over.
And I don't have
so
to.
if you have an instance where like L2TP won't connect because they're blocking it on their firewall, it jumps to the next best.
Yeah. So it just shotguns. It'll create every tunnel that it possibly can that I've got configured, and then it'll just route over which one happens to be the best one. So I don't have to have any like scripting, no logic in there. I don't ever have to touch it, and I've got it locked down so that only my laptop, when I plug in to like one of the other Ethernet ports, is allowed to like actually communicate through, so that they can't just grab it, plug in, and then get access to all my stuff. So it's kind of the simplest way I could think of to get access to all my. So some of the guys I work with, they have all their stuff like internet accessible. They're going to connect to and things like that, and that's great for demos. But it's like I need to like get in there, and I like need to show you like the routers in the labs and do all this other stuff, and I don't necessarily want to make all that wacky stuff externally accessible. So it's nice to just have this thing, plug it in. Plus, I know I'm not just sticking my Windows machine right on their network, and gives me a little bit more sense of security. And I can also, when I'm in the hotel, I can connect it up to the Wi-Fi or plug it into their port or whatever, just the same, and exact same experience every time, no matter where I go. So I thought it was like a pretty nice workaround for that. I could have gone with something smaller, but I wanted 2, 4, and 5 gig radios in it.
Mm-hmm.
So that form factor, you're going for a HAP AC or a HAP AC. HAP AC Lite? Is that what they call them now? The 100 meg ones, or the AC squared?
AC Lite.
Yeah, so it was kind of like the
And
smallest
the
one
AC2.
that has that form factor. Although maybe the CAP AC is smaller. Maybe I could have went that route.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's an option.
I do have an NES cartridge that I would like to stick in.
Well, the nice thing, the CAP AC is like the board's maybe a little bit wider, but it's shallower, if that makes sense, than an AC2. So it's we use a bunch of them. The nice thing about the CAP AC compared to the HAP AC squared, though, is you get standard PoE support.
How many Ethernet ports are on the CAP ACs?
2.
See, that would be perfect. Just one for my laptop and one for their network connection if I need it. I might rebuild this.
Remind me on Monday. I'll send you a picture of the board on the AC2. I've got one popped open at an MDU I'm installing this week. Yeah. So
I installed a bunch. I thought I had a spare one. I don't. I guess I installed all of them. I do have some WAPs, but those things are huge. I digress.
The new one's not too bad. The new generation with the 2 dual ports and the ARM process.
I think I might go that route. So yeah, I've got like a Ninja Gaiden, however you want to say it, NES cart. That might be my other, because one of mine is in an Atari cartridge. It's Defender, obviously. What else would you put it in? So that would be a cool little compliment there. Because
I like the VHS.
I know it's kind of big though. It's kind of big. It's a little obtrusive.
What you could do is you could put a AC3 board in it, and then have the external antennas.
I'll have to think about it. I'll have to think on it.
We're giving you all sorts of dangerous ideas. I think that's the one thing. Like, if you look up here in the corner, I've got a M33G, and that's my when I'm at our properties and I'm staying at one of our properties, it automatically has the right management VLAN on it. So I just plug it in, and I automatically get put on our management VLAN. So I'm already in our OSPF network. I can get to any of the other properties over our tunnels, and then I don't hit the queuing, so I'm unlimited on my queues.
Very nice. That's the way to be. And for a small price, you can too. What do you do, Mikey, when you travel?
Usually it's plan poorly. And so many times I'm traveling with exactly whatever I have normally, because it's like, oh crap, like I didn't pack my clothes yet and I have to leave, so I'm not going to take time to take garbage out of my laptop bag. I just have a generic Dell or HP, I'm not sure what it is. Laptop bag, stuffed full of, I don't even know what's in there. I forgot I had like a Trader Joe like peanut butter and jelly like cracker stick thing in there that I forgot about, and I found it when I was looking for a cable and found the jelly at first. So that was nice. But when I have time to actually plan things, if it's just like regular work type stuff, I mean, it's, laptop charger, phone cables and chargers. I've got a cAP mini. I forgot what it was. It's like the little USB powered one. That way I can plug it into a USB battery pack. And then that's probably it. Ethernet cords and stuff. If I'm going to a conference, then actually I have way more crap than I would usually have, just because I don't know when I'm going to be by power. So it's so I have multiple battery packs. I don't know what the internet's going to be like, because I've been in hotels before when my Wi-Fi signal, it's just barely a bar, and well, that's not going to work. I can't get good speeds with that. So then I'll bring along a nano station, just so I can power through to get to NAP, and then I'll pull it down with the nano station, spit it back out with a Mikrotik, so all my devices work. The battery pack with the HAP light, that's so that then on a plane I can I can get the Wi-Fi on the plane with the Mikrotik, and then just spit it back out to my assorted devices. Not that I need to. I'm fine with just one device, but I can. So why not?
I mean, I do that on cruise ships. I'll take a map light and plug it into a USB battery pack, and it'll rebroadcast, and you'll pay for the service on the map light with the map light's MAC address, and I'll serve 3 or 4 other devices off of that.
Sure.
Or you could just walk around the cruise ship for a while collecting MAC addresses that you sniff, and then just clone Macs until one works, and then call it a day.
Good. And so, how many battery packs do I have? I'll bring a power strip, because I'll have how many devices I have to plug in. If it's like a WISP show where I've got, camera gear and stuff, I have a whole camera bag then, and chargers for the camera batteries, because I want to make sure that, I don't run out of steam while I'm doing a video. And so then ultimately it's a whole big ordeal. And I've filled up an 8-port power strip before, just with crap I've brought into my hotel room, just to keep everything topped up. Because it's if it was more convenient, it wouldn't need as many things. But it's I don't know. I'm leaving my hotel room at 8 o'clock in the morning. I might not be back until 2 in the morning. I can't charge things in serial. I have to every battery has to have its own charger, or in the case of USB, I can a big one with a whole bunch of cables off of it. But it's just things really get out of hand then.
Yeah.
But I do it all for you, the audience.
Oh, I thought you were talking to me. Well, I don't care.
No,
if you're doing it for the audience. It's whatever.
I don't care about it. No, the audience. It's usually somewhere in between of packing what I actually want, and then having what I would normally have in a normal day, because I'm too busy to clear it out. I'll find business cards from 3 shows ago in my bag.
Yeah.
It's I probably didn't need to bring this with me to Vegas. Hand
them back out to other people. Yeah, I get it.
Especially because I have an app on my phone that I take a picture of the business card before I do anything with it. So like if I can't give it back, then I stuff it in my pocket to just throw away later because it's already in my phone. I don't need the card anymore. And then that's the card. So like I don't even need the card. Like I don't need it, but yet I've followed it on an airplane back and forth because it's in the depths of my bag. But yeah, I should use them as like, handing out at the conference or like, I piss someone off at a, wherever and like, hey, here's my card, contact me.
I've actually been thinking about having some business cards printed up that have a QR code on them so that you just scan it and okay, all whatever's on my business card is now stored in your phone.
That's what I was thinking, like QR code just in your cell phone holder, just like on the back of it, and then people, you just show it
or on the back of your badge because it's like they scan you anyway. So slap another one on the back of your badge and call it a day.
Oh yeah, that would be perfect. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're filling your business cards, one side was your business card, the other side was a QR. You could just shove that into the little badge holder right there, and you'd be done. Just let people scan it. That's a really good idea. Let me write that down.
Well, and this is also partially because I haven't had a set of business cards printed now in for my company like 5 years. The current company, my daily job, I haven't had business cards. I've never gotten them because I don't want people calling.
Yeah, I don't have business cards anymore. It's totally cool. These would just be like, I guess Brothers Wisp related ones. So, what's that app you use for business cards, Mikey? Do you know it off the top of your head without having to look?
It's called Contacts Plus.
Contacts.
It used to be called Full Contact before they got bought out. And it's kind of nice because I can take a picture of a business card. It'll transcribe it, throw it in my contact list, and then with all of my contacts, it then like automatically hunts out like their, like if I have their email, and then their name, it will fill in, here's the business name that they work for, and here's their position in the company. It'll find it if it's on the internet. It'll pull in their LinkedIn profiles and stuff, and pull in their LinkedIn profile picture, stick it in the content. It does all this kind of, searching the internet to fill out the rest of the profile for that person.
That's pretty cool. Might look for that. I've noticed like my new like exchange of business cards is connecting with people on LinkedIn. Like I do that all the time. Until I started over here at Red Hat, I really ignored LinkedIn for the most part, but I don't know if that'll be a good way moving forward to keep trying to do that stuff. But I'm going to give Contacts Plus a try. See what.
I've actually gone in for a couple of interviews just because of LinkedIn. I've had office managers reach out and say, hey, you're familiar with the small business stuff, or you're familiar with the radio stuff. Can we come talk to you about a position maybe? So it's been kind of interesting having the LinkedIn stuff. Then again, I found my current job in the Reddit post. So,
God, did you really? That's wild.
Yes, it was something about looking for a Mikrotik engineer in Dallas-Fort Worth area on our networking. So
wacky wild, man. Yeah, I found in the LinkedIn Learning author portal, because it's like Linda got consumed by them, so all my stuff's LinkedIn Learning now or whatever. There was this little checkbox option, or I guess like a radio button, and it's like be automatically tagged when somebody says they completed your course, like, and they post in there. It's like a little certificate saying they finished, and I was like, yeah, I'll turn that on. And now I get like, I don't know, 10 to 15 notifications a day of people like completing courses. I was like, whoa, that's one is kind of wild. Just to see how many people are actually, going through your stuff. But I figure it's also, I get like 10 to 15 people like tagging me every day. It's probably good to like, get your name out there and stuff. So I'm just going to let it ride as long as I can stand it. I usually go in there and I'll like, I'll like their post or congratulate them or whatever. And I was like typing personalized messages at first, and now I just put an emoji in there. I'll pop in, it'll be like a thumbs up or like a rock and roll or like a bicep or something. I don't know, man. It's like whatever I feel like that day, I'll just copy and paste. Pop, 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 just run through them.
Well, hopefully you don't put the puking emoji in there.
No. No, but it's like I don't have time to type stuff. But then I noticed like I'm starting to get a lot more people that are international. I was like, so, you know, emojis are the international language. It's not love anymore. You know, it's emojis.
Well, you know, that's kind of, you know, it's kind of interesting because I was watching, let's see, I've been going through House again and then maybe something else, but you know, and it's like, you know, this last trip to Mexico, English was pretty well known. I mean, I was doing a mix of English and Spanish just because I haven't used my Spanish in so long. But
Spanglish.
Yeah. But and you know, I was correct. The folks I was talking to were nice enough to correct me a couple of times. Like I used carne de vaca instead of just saying carne when saying I wanted steak fajitas, because it's, you know, it's just one of those, you don't use it a lot. But you know, and I was going through, it's like, man, it's you know, it's not politically correct, but the comment, there was a comment, I might have been on House or something, why can't you just speak English? And I was like, and I'm quite amazed at just how many people actually speak English or understand enough of it that it's, you know, it's just one of those weird things.
Well, also the other side of that is you're right. It's like a lot of people in other countries, you know, have some understanding of English, but most of us Americans can barely speak English. So it's kind of sad state of affairs.
Well, you know, it depends on your point of reference on that. Is, you know, if we're talking to some of the brothers on the other side of the ocean, they're like, yeah, you know, two great countries bound by a we both speak English, but we both speak it differently.
Yeah, what do you? It's like two countries divided by a common language. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
They speak the Queen's English. I've heard some, you know, just like native English speaking folks over there, you know, like people in the UK say that it's oftentimes easier to understand what Americans are saying as opposed to some strange dialects they have over there. So certainly Scottish people, man, it takes me a minute. I gotta concentrate. I gotta hyper focus listening to them.
I mean, my biggest one is, you know, I will say most of your British and Scottish accents I'm okay with. Irish accents I'm also okay with. But when you get into the Indian accents, that's when I start having a very hard time, just because I can't necessarily understand what's being said with the accent. So it used to be horrible. I used to always have to call HP support for stuff, and it's like, you know, even with as a preferred reseller, they'll send you to India first. And it's like, can you please transfer me to someone in the U.S.? As soon as they start talking, I just don't want to play the game of me asking you to repeat something five times every 5 minutes, because I can't understand the accent because my ears just can't handle it.
I know I watch a ton of British television, and that really, I think that exposure therapy helps me a lot. So I can understand most of virtually anything they say, even when they're speaking quickly. But you're right. I was on one of our internal meetings, and they were talking about some new technical feature, and it cut over to the product owner of kind of that feature, and he was Indian. And man, I was really having to concentrate. But I bet it's the same thing, right? It's like I just don't hear that accent very often. So if I was like immersed in it, I'm sure it would, you know, it would be so much easier. But sometimes, you know, like when I'm listening to the Latvians, that some of those guys, I have to concentrate for a second. Like, what do they say? They don't say bandwidth, they say bandwich, like it's a sandwich. That always makes me laugh. There's some other funny ways they pronounce stuff, but it's usually, you know, usually get the point across. Sometimes my abilities to hyper focus on things are not quite there. So I smell what you're cooking. I know what you mean.
Yeah, well, and then it's like they introduce those YouTube videos in Spanish. I'm just like, I strangely understand a good chunk of these because they're not native Spanish speakers, so they don't have, necessarily the native Spanish accents that I have a hard time with. They have more, the way they pronounce things is more along the lines of how I would pronounce things, which makes more sense when I'm trying to figure out what they're saying.
Well, I remember we were taking...
So like a second-hand language works better for you.
Yeah. When we were taking Spanish in high school, they said that they were teaching us Spain Spanish. And they're like, this isn't necessarily what you're going to hear when you're out walking around. Because somebody told me, like a native like Spanish speaker here in Texas, they're from Mexico. And they said, we speak Tex-Mex. It's not like a pure, it's like any language in any area gets kind of colloquialized. They have their own
it's like
turns of
their
phrase and stuff.
Yeah, in Mexico, their verb for their form for on their verbs for I think what we would call they is officially the you all form of the verb. They just use you instead of you all, so they don't use what we call the y'all form.
But yeah, so it's funny because like when I'm like at the bakery, like the Mexican bakery, La Espiga Dorada down here, it's delicious, amazing tacos too, best donuts in town. It's uncanny. But whenever I'm hearing them talk, a lot of times I'll hear English words just kind of pop out, and I guess that's what they mean by Tex-Mex. It's kind of just a mixture of the both languages. Sometimes they kind of blend together.
Yeah, and there's still some words that there isn't a true Spanish derivative for, so they have to say the word in English, and then you're just like, oh, okay.
Well, like I was listening to somebody talk, and they were pointing, and they said some stuff in Spanish, and they said over there, and then continued in Spanish. So I was like, oh, that's okay. So it's like, obviously I know over there is in Spanish, but it's just, I guess, you start mixing your languages together. I don't know. I don't exactly understand it, but I've heard several people do it, although I haven't hardly been around other people. I say that. Today I've been around a lot of people, and it was not bad at all. I kind of readjusted I acclimatized pretty quick. I went to some place called Micro Center. Have you guys ever heard of that?
Yeah.
All right.
There's one about
I think all the ones by me closed down.
Okay. It was,
or at least,
man, it was full of nerds. That's all I know.
Yeah, in Dallas and Fort Worth, it's kind of been what's replacing the Fries.
Yeah.
There's one in Richardson right by my office, which I go to once every couple of months for a couple hours. So my office, not the mic.
Yeah.
But yeah, but they're also there. They have they're doing the maker thing too. They have the whole section of just maker supplies, Raspberry Pis, Arduinos. You got filament for your 3D printers, and
yeah. So they had like the Arduino Pro Minis, which are the ones I prefer to use a lot, and they had them for $7.99. And when I buy them off of AliExpress, they're like $1.30 a piece. So a little bit of a markup on that smaller stuff. But you know what really got a hold of me is, there was a lot of computer stuff, and I was thinking, man, like 15-year-old Greg would have gone bonkers in this place. Like I would have lost my mind. It would have been so amazing, because back then it's like I knew everything about every processor was out. I knew the roadmaps, when stuff was getting released, all the video cards. I knew all that stuff. And now I look at it and I just glaze over. It's like I don't know about any of this stuff anymore. And luckily there's enough of you guys that really know what's going on. I can just ask y'all in the Slack or whatever. Oh man, I said I never say y'all, and I just said y'all. You've stuck it in me. You've got it in my brain. Let me rephrase.
Don't worry
phrasing.
about it.
Boom. But yeah, it's like I just it felt kind of weird. It's like I don't understand anything about any of this stuff anymore, like at all. Other than I know like the NVIDIA 3090s are like the new ones because they're like sold out everywhere, and I hear people complain about it. That's the only reason I know about that. So it's such a weird experience, I guess. But that's the evolution of things. Things that you were super into, you just that kind of fades away or whatever. But I'm still in IT, so it's still like sort of. But I'm more in network. I don't know. Things change, life changes. It's weird. It was a neat place though, for anybody that's never been. And also, I forget what it's like to be able to actually touch things to try them on. And they had like a million keyboards out that you could like poke the keys and put your hands on. And I was like, man, that's really nice. Because, you know, Amazon's kind of a crapshoot when it comes to that stuff. You don't exactly know.
Yeah, that's actually how I selected my 2 keyboards for my home desk and my office desk, because I was at Micro Center and was playing with the keyboards. And I said, I like this one, so let's get 2 of them.
Yeah. And they had mice. They had tons of mice, so you could see how it feels in your hand, how does it move around. I guess, do you think it mattered more back in the day when they actually had like steel balls in them, like actual mouse balls as opposed to lasers? They all feel pretty much the same to me now. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's just the grip mainly and how it conforms to your hand. Like I have a bigger mouse at home than I do at the office, but then again, my hands have really started bothering me here the last couple of months again. You know, when I wasn't doing so much work, but I tried to go water skiing over the 4th of July, and I just could not hold on to the ski rope, and it.
Is it like a carpal tunnel sort of thing? That sucks, man. Yeah, falling apart. Your warranty's almost expired, so you better get in there quick. That's what I threatened my wife with. I was like, man, the warranty's out, you know, and I don't know what's going to happen. I don't want to be stranded somewhere because you're just falling to pieces. And yikes. That's awesome. Speaking of cars, I took my, I know this is way off the path, but I gave my 15-year-old a driving lesson for the first time. That was a bittersweet moment. It was weird. It's so weird. We went on our family vacation like a week ago, something like that. And so my 15-year-old is 6'4", 280. So he's big. I'm 6'3". And then my 12-year-old he's right about 6'1.5 inches. So he's like just, and then my wife is right at 6 foot. So my 12-year-old is taller than my wife. And they're walking in front of me. And it's like, finally, I get the concept of people saying that we're tall, because it's like, now I have a reference point. I could just see them standing next to everybody else. It's pretty freaky. Let's see, what else do we have on the list? We have, there's a new, somebody posted in the Slack a picture of the new cAP XL AC. And XL, I am assuming, means extra large for the antenna on this thing, because it's pretty massive looking. It looks like it kind of covers the circumference almost of
it kind of reminds me of a variant of the antenna they use in the audience. Just, I didn't see a 3-dimensional picture, but from the, looking down on it view.
Yeah, so we got it like a back panel view, and you can see it kind of spitting out larger than the board itself. So it's pretty big antenna, and that's one of the things that I think we've been harping on forever about the indoor kit, is that the antennas are so tiny on these things.
And I think the caps have actually, at least on 2.4 gig, going to the lower power caps for our MDUs and the lesser antenna designs, have actually solved a lot of channel interference issues we've been having. So I don't necessarily know that it's a bad thing. My big deal with the cAP AC is I really, I'm waiting for V7 to be stable so I can turn on a officially stable, so I can turn on the new Wi-Fi features for things like Wave 2.
Yeah, I think everybody's ready for the new improved hotness. There's just no doubt. I think nobody's surprised by us saying, "Hey, we're ready for a stable version 7."
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even harping AX. If we get Wave 2 working, and I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Because for our stuff, we don't really need to support AX because we don't have anything that needs to go that fast. It's the client counts that kill us.
Yeah, that's exactly the same boat I'm in. In my MDUs, I don't need the speed because the users can't overrun the rate limits I'm putting in there. I just want as many advances as I can get in the existing technologies. Make it work as smooth as possible.
And then we have the handful that say, "What? You're only giving us 30 meg?" No, it's 30 meg per connection, and unlike what you'll get from your cable company, it's going to be, symmetric. We do symmetric because we're feeding off of DIAs. So, it's a different 30 meg than saying, "Oh yeah, the cable company can get you up to 250 down and 25 up."
Yeah. Like I've got, I don't know, my download speed is like 500 or 600 at peak. But my upload is a hard 20 megs, and every time I'm uploading a YouTube video, I hit it, and I'll hear the kids scream, "Dad, the internet's," because they're obviously blasting somebody in a game, or they're trying to beat somebody in car soccer or whatever. So I always have to ask around, "Hey, is anybody doing anything?" Because I'm about to break it for just a minute. It's so sad.
I used to use Linux. There was a command line utility you could use to upload in the middle of the night, and I used to do that, so you could do the video upload in the middle of the night when the kids were asleep.
I just make a note and do it at like 8 in the morning when absolutely nobody's
awake. You should automate that with Ansible and set it to automatically do it for you.
I probably could.
There, I issued you the challenge. Do it.
Well, so I was thinking actually maybe Greg needs to put version 7 on his home router so that he can use FQ Codal and give that a try, because that's just turn it on and leave it alone and everything's magic.
Yeah. I was thinking I could put some queues in place to fix it, but then I was like thinking I'm going to give myself priority anyway, so it would still, it'd still exhaust all of their internet, so it's not going to fix anything. I don't really care. They can suck it. For me, yeah, it's just I'll remember to do it in the morning. It's no big deal. Oh, man. I think we lost Mikey again. We're just going to truck right along. Well, Colin, since we've lost Mikey, rip, rest in pepperonis, you got anything new and interesting going?
I've been playing with some old Aruba switches, just Ansible and some other things I got going on. I forgot how simple VLANs were on these things. It's literally in the command line. It's you enter your config mode, and then you enter VLAN, the VLAN ID, and then you tell it, if you want to set exports to untag, you type untag, and then you list the ports, or you can do a port range, and that's it. All those ports are all now set. Boom. It's not like some of the other switches where you have to go into the interface.
Baller does sound easy. I guess most of your stuff is like on the outside of the MDU unit or something like that. Yeah, rock and roll. So do you guys have boots on the ground out there in Florida? Right on.
Time of the year to do it.
Oh yeah, the summer.
So it's like we're taking down. Nobody wants to let us in, or the building management lets us into the room, but it's a case of the owner of the we told the owner of the unit, both building management told the owner of the unit, but they didn't bother to tell the renters that they have been occupying the unit that we're going to be in there. So, and I think we've almost got shot like 2 or 3 times in the last week, and just little things.
Yeah, somebody sicked their alligator on you.
Yeah, we basically are at the point of just having one of the management people in their shirt stand outside the building, and either that, or I said, or we need a sign that we can put up that says, maintenance personnel inside of, just as they're walking up, so they don't walk up and see that the door's open, or open the door and find people in the room or in the unit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's also, it could be uncomfortable too, like an MDU environment. Like if the manager just gives you the key and it's like, I'm a guy by myself, and you go, it's like, that's always kind of
strange. Oh yeah, we won't do this unaccompanied anymore. We've had too many claims against us to say no. Now we always go in with building management, and they accompany us, or security if they're a large enough building that they have an actual security team.
Yeah, it's always uncomfortable. It's almost like we need to wear body cams when we're doing this work, just CYA, because it's you don't want to get yourself into an uncomfortable position. I don't want to put anybody in an uncomfortable position, so. I totally.
Yeah, I mean, I've totally met a couple of Karens, and I get why they're being that way. But in the end of the day, it's like we gave, we gave a month notice, and we gave a week notice that we were, and then that we were planning to enter this unit on this day.
Yeah.
So, and sorry, we don't want to come back because we have, especially when we're bringing in resources from out of state.
Yeah, a couple of trips back. I to my MDU, I needed to go in and swap out somebody's router, and normally I would just send it over to them and let them do it. It's no big deal because it's right there on their TV console where they just unplug and plug back
in. These aren't the ones that you secured.
I made all of these cables, and then they said, "Oh, by the way, like the week before I was going to install them, we don't need the security cables. We've decided not to do that." I was like, "You mother truckers, that took so long, so many hours to put those steel braided cables." Anyway, I digress. Yeah, so I happened to be there doing some work anyway, so instead of just mailing it, I brought it. And I was like, "Hey, do you mind if I change this out?" And it was a girl, and she was like, and then I go, "Here, My wife is right here with me. She was like, oh, okay. And so, yeah, I had another female with me, so it was fine. And we went in there, changed it out 2 seconds, and then, well, I see her apprehension too. She was in like a towel. So it's like, dude, why are you even answering the door in a towel? Just, you could put clothes on and come back in a minute or two and you'd be fine. But whatever.
Kids these days, huh?
Yeah, it's a bunch of college kids.
That's how movies start.
Bunch of dummies. Such is life. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, Mike showed back up.
yeah, Mikey's back. He's like a bad rash. You think you got rid of him, and here he comes. Yeah, so what have I been working on? I've been playing with Batfish Enterprise a little bit. It's pretty neat. I need to get more familiar with it. I gotta kind of figure that out. It's definitely a product. It's still under development. There's some pieces kind of missing here or there. And then what else have I been working on? I'm learning Docker and Podman. So Podman is like Docker, but on Rails systems. They like rewrote it. Apparently, Docker's doing like some weird stuff. They're like talking about like trademarking the name and some weird licensing stuff. So I think Red Hat just wrote Podman so that you like don't have to worry about that anymore. But it's basically a 1-for-1. So I'm just kind of learning all the ins and outs of that stuff so I can start messing with the new Ansible Automation Platform 2.0, which is going to be
Docker's up there on my list of things to do, mainly because I've been looking at Kubernetes, which uses containers just like Docker. So I'm just, it's just such a foreign concept to me, the concept of containers.
Yeah, yeah. I still don't have my head wrapped around all the intricacies, but I'm getting there.
And then I actually used containers before I used VMs. I started using containers 2007, 2006, 2007, something like that. With OpenVZ. I was just doing it just kind of raw, and then it was such a pain to manage because the resource management wasn't like, choose how many megabytes you want for RAM or choose how much this. It was like, you had to figure out like your number of resource units. I don't know what they were called, and you had to allocate them correctly, and you had to have it allocated completely, or else it would blow up. And so it was just a big pain in the butt. And then it was like, oh, Proxmox 1.2 or whatever, Web GUI. I just type in megs and I move on. Sold. Oh, hey, there's this thing called VMs. What's that?
Yeah, I've been using VMs for a really long time, and containers isn't like a far cry from that. I guess kind of the way you think about stuff or whatever. But I mean, fundamentally under the engine is definitely different. Yeah, I'm still trying to, because it's like the new Ansible stuff. They're moving like engine to where it's going to run in these like these embedded environments. So it'll kind of like spin up a container and it'll do the automation piece it needs and then go away, which is really cool because it'll be able to scale like crazy. Like if you want to run against like 10,000 devices, you're not going to overload the server you're running on. It's just going to just crank up as many containers as it needs across your compute stack or whatever. So that's pretty neat. But it's just I don't feel like I'm at the knowledge level yet. I mean, obviously it's going to hide most of that complexity, but still, it's like I want to understand how it's working under the hood, because inevitably somebody's going to ask me about it, and I don't want to look like a dumb. I want to at least have some semblance of what's going on. Otherwise, I would completely ignore it. Yeah. Super don't care. No. Nah, it's fun to challenge myself, learn new things. So it'll be good. It'll be an adventure. I've already learned a whole lot. It's like just Google Docker, talk to me like I'm 5, and go from there. Start at the start.
Good old Eli 5.
All right, Mikey. Well, anything new, different? You put a few things in the in here. You got Datasheets, Facebook trolling. Oh, Mike would never do that. I don't know why that's there. Customer touches. All right. What do you?
Nothing to do with ladies and their towels.
Yeah, for sure. What do you got on your mind there, bud?
Sure. Well, so I'll kind of lump, I guess, here. I'll reorder them so they make sense a bit more. And so the first two will kind of be surprise, Mike complaining.
Oh. Never.
Ooh,
And so,
I get to hear one firsthand live. I'm excited.
Are you?
uh,
All right.
two different things. So this has been kind of an ongoing thing the entire time we've been doing this. Both of these have been actually, just different vendors, different times. So the first on my list is Datasheets. We need better data sheets for radios. You look at the data sheet for any licensed radio, and it will tell you exactly anything you would ever want to know about any channel size or modulation or frequency combination that you could have. What's the receive sensitivity? What's the transmit power? What's all possible variations of all possible things you would ever have to know to compute that link is on a datasheet for a licensed link. Many manufacturers, for many types of radios, provide some amount less than that. One of them I noticed earlier this week. They told you what band it was in. That's it. Oh, no. What band it was in and what size of channels it supported. That was it. Don't know what the transmit power is. Don't know what the receiving sensitivity, what the receiving sensitivity is. Don't know what modulations it has. Don't know don't know any of those things. How can I possibly compute if this is a good product for me if all I know is what band and what size of channel?
Is nothing good enough for you, Mike?
Apparently, the licensed radios data sheets are.
I mean, I get it with the background and doing the long distance stuff. I get it. I'm like, yeah, okay, so I may not be able to support, a 40 meg channel at 300 meg, but I can sure support a 100 meg at 20 meg. So, and this application only needs 80 meg, so this would be a good fit. I mean, I get it.
That so many manufacturers don't. There's a whole spectrum between the licensed guys, because almost all licensed guys, definitely all of the traditional ones anyway, give you everything you'd ever want to know up front. This is everything you possibly want to know. Get Radio Mobile, start poking information in. Or insert your tool of choice. But at the other end, it's like, and this one was a 60 gig link. I'm like, how could I possibly compute if this link would work for me? Like, 5 gig? Okay, I can take a crapshoot and guess the transmit power, guess receive sensitivity, and we'll just it'll work. 60? I gotta know. There's so much variance.
What I've found is sometimes you can pull the FCC IDs if you don't know and get the information that way. But, like you said, it's what did they actually submit to the FCC versus what they're telling us.
Sure. And, and if I want to know bad enough, I'll go dig through those because I actually get emails whenever any of a whole bunch of vendors have any changes to their FCC IDs. So that's how I populate our social media with, hey, Bicells has a new, outdoor CPE, and then I'll look and I'll see, what channels it's licensed for or certified for and whatnot. But just be upfront with it. Don't make me work to determine if your product is useful or not.
Well,
if you make me work that hard, I'll just move on.
I like to think of as what's the advantage for them of leaving that information off? Like, why do you think they would go about that? Yeah, like I don't think it's out of laziness, and I'm not saying they're necessarily trying to obfuscate or hide anything, but in your estimation,
it's the first two things I thought of when you asked. Like either they're lazy or they're obvious.
I don't want to assume malice. I'm just saying by leaving it off, what would be your estimation? Like, why do you think that would be an advantage for them?
I think it has something to do with if you look at a lot of the people coming in right now, they're not used to. There a lot of if you look at the WISP forums and stuff, it's people who don't have a big RF understanding, and that's what they're trying to combat. It's like, well, they don't, this is our market, the guys who are new to RF, and we just want to have them, we'd love to have them sell our get our product because it's easy to use. We have, the easy button everywhere, and they can be our, a sole vendor of us, blah, blah, blah. They don't know because they haven't learned it yet.
Oh, sure. And you don't want to scare them off with a fancy data sheet full of all kinds of things they don't understand. So just, yep, it works. Move on. There's some hand waving of, okay, this is good enough.
Like, tell them how far you can shoot and what band's in good enough.
This is the droid you're looking for, sort of thing.
Yeah, and that, for some of them, that could certainly well be it. Others, could be just a disconnect between tech guys and marketing. A marketing guy doesn't know what it is, so they don't put it on the sheet until a tech guy tells them, no, this has to be on the sheet. And then with the shortage of, I don't say shortage of, but, with a lot more, newer WISPs coming on board that don't know to ask for it, then it just never happens. One of the vendors, it wasn't on the data sheet, but you could go onto their wiki, and then they would tell you everything there. Okay. Like, I don't like it, but I'll accept that, where there's somewhere I can go to get the official information.
Well, it seems weird to me that if you're like every bit of your documentation that you spit out has all that information, then here's a new product and it doesn't have any of that. That seems like that's a pretty big glaring difference that somebody along the QA process would, catch. So again, I'm not assuming malicious intent. I'd just be curious how it would make it that far through the process with that stuff left off. If that is common practice for them to put all that stuff on there.
Yeah, one thing could be, if it fell off, employee churn. The guy that made the fancy one left, and you got a new guy that doesn't know it should be there.
Yeah, fair enough.
Another thing that annoys me about vendors, and most of them don't do this, but some vendors delete posts or comments on their forums, social media presences, so on. And I don't mean like things that are reasonable to delete. If there's somebody selling little blue pills, that obviously doesn't apply to our space. If there's somebody trying to hawk another vendor's equipment on your page or your forum, okay, that's probably not appropriate. If somebody's just swearing or berating or whatever, okay, fine. But I don't remember. Oh, it was like, this one was about SSL management, and I was like, hey, because now you have to go into like the command line to do a bunch of crap to make it happen, and it's like, hey, when are you gonna have this so I can manage it in the UI? And then like I started seeing replies and upvotes on my comment, and then I just have some other constructive comments, so I go back to it. I'm like, is it the same thread? Because I don't see my comment anymore. And like, I wasn't like being an a-hole about it. I was just, hey, when are we going to have, the ability to manage our certificates in the UI? Comment deleted. Just like, what? Okay. Like, what's the point of that? But it's happened to multiple vendors of
maybe
things
they considered it a feature request and therefore didn't belong there.
It, I don't know. Maybe I'm, maybe I'm infringing on somebody's safe space, and they need, a little box, and I'm just not allowed to question them.
Well, it could have.
Maybe they listen to the podcast and figure out, this is.
Oh, it's that guy. Yeah. It could be like they cut with a large sword. They were trying to get somebody else's, and they took a few people out along the way. I've seen that before.
I have seen that, yeah. But the vendors who I've had this with, they, if that's the case, then they are quite sloppy because they've got a reputation for doing such things.
Or maybe the guy that was more precise left, and now you just got the sloppy guy left.
I mean, the more you do, the more you talk about it, though, the longer or the easier it becomes to figure out. We start whittling down the list of vendors without you actually having to say it.
Well, I mean, there is one that I had this week, yeah. But then, I mean, I've had it happen several times across several vendors. Some of them just can't take criticism.
Okay. Well, how about your Facebook trolling? Where does that come in?
That it's not as violent as the note indicates. Just every now and then on our social media feeds, I like to throw out little bombs to get people to discuss. I mean, often I ask questions when I already know the answer because I'm trying to curate discussion amongst our fans. And so one I just did today was bridged CPE versus routed CPE. Tell me why the other side is wrong. So far it's got quite a few engagements per Facebook anyway. 215 engagements already, and it's only been out there 4 hours. And a couple weeks ago, I did something similar with VI versus Nano.
So when you throw those out there, do you eventually comment your own opinion in there?
Yeah, I mean, Usually. I can't say always because I may forget, but it's my intention anyway to throw it out there, not taint the field with my input too much, and then
put some gasoline on the fire. Yeah, I know what you're doing, Mike.
Yeah, it's just I was interested to see things, and I've over the years I've done some of them a few times, and interested to see kind of how things change, like the bridged versus routed, how the arguments shift over time for or against which side of the fence. It's interesting. But and so then onto the customer touches. This one is goes outside of the tech realm, but you've heard many times how you have to a prospective customer has to see you or be exposed to your offer or whatever 7 times before they'll commit, on average. Obviously, if you had some new whiz bang thing, one and done. And so I'm just trying to figure out how are people, and being as though I have tech guys on here, I'm not sales guys. I guess Greg is a sales guy now, aren't you?
I've been a sales guy for a minute.
How are people getting to that 7? Is it sending your sales guy to the door 7 times? Or is it sending him to the door once and sending a mailer once and then sending an ad through the chamber once? Trying to figure out how people are getting those touches. What mixtures because of I can't marketing, but it's not really marketing. Marketing and sales. What things are people doing to that are effective? I assume it's not just most things. Well, on the business side, residential, just pump out Facebook ads, and that's all you really have to do. But for business, it's a lot more nuanced than that.
I think it depends on a lot of stuff. It's like, what product are you selling? 1, what market are you in? 2, are they an existing customer and you want them to just like upgrade, or there's a new feature you want them to pay for, right? Like, to me, that's completely different versus this is a brand new customer you're trying to get them to sign up versus just kind of the upgrade process. Because if they're an existing customer, you don't want to bug the hell out of them because that turns into spam and it's just going to annoy them, right? Whereas like if it's nobody, it's you're not actually an existing customer, then obviously you don't want to spam them, but reaching out a little bit more, I think, doesn't seem as annoying. It's not as annoying to me in that respect, I guess. Because normally, like my vendors, I don't want them to talk to me unless they specifically need something from me or I've reached out to them first. Usually I want them to just give me a good price and then never talk to me again. But I'm probably a weirdo in that respect. So I don't know.
You are a weirdo. But I would imagine that many of us are also weirdos and have a similar approach. I have a variety of vendors who, I do want their newsletters from. But yeah, there's so many, like every once in a while, you start to kind of build up all the junk you get from vendors, and like I'll just take like for a week, like anything that I'm not like excited to see, unsubscribe, because I get so much of it.
Yeah, that's something we used to struggle with back at the Fibertown days. It's like how much customer contact is too much and how much is enough and not enough and all that stuff. And what it really boiled down to is if you're going to reach out to somebody, you have to have a compelling reason to talk to them. Not just, hey guys, how you doing? It's like you're wasting my time, when I could be doing other stuff. But if you actually have like something new, something different, a new feature, a new product, whatever it happens to be, something that can actually affect change for this customer, to me, that's a good solid reason to reach out, or a good time to reach out. But if it's just like you're saying, just a customer touch point, I would say very infrequent. One thing that we started doing, which I thought was a nice touch, is before their contract would renew or expire, there's like this grace period that'll auto renew, where they could have canceled the auto renew stuff. And so they had like a reminder that 3 months prior to that, they would reach out, or 4 months. Because, in IT, like if we're going to switch services or circuits or anything like that, it takes us time. So it actually was kind of giving them a grace period to look at that and think about it. So to me, that made sense. Like, oh, hey, I see you're coming up for renewal in 6 months. Just wanted to get in front of you, talk to you about it, whatever. That makes sense to me. So what kind of avenues are you mostly thinking about, Bud? Are you looking at brand new or existing customers? We're trying to get them to upgrade, or just keep your business customers happy?
Well, so my intent was, new customers, new sales, because not that the other conversation is not valid. It's just a lot easier, if you can conquer, how do I handle somebody new that I don't have a relationship with. Surely you can figure out how to handle the guy that already gives you money. You've already convinced him to give you money. You can convince him to take your call or your email for whatever the thing is you're trying to do. And I was just kind of like leaving my sales guy to do his thing because I have enough things to do. And then I actually heard from somebody. They're like, that like my sales guy had come by too much trying to sell him stuff. Like, not that he was there every day, but like, over the 2 or 3 years, he had been there, he had worn out his welcome. Like, not to the point where like, dude, go away, like to tell him. It was just but the customer was, or prospective customer was annoyed, like, oh gee, Billy keeps stopping by trying to sell stuff. And yeah, that makes sense. Like it's like a sledgehammer. Like if you just keep trying the same thing, like it's A, you're probably going to irritate them. B, it's obviously not working. You've got to, not to say that you shouldn't do it, but like, diversify your toolkit. Right. And so just, in the past week or two, we've been kind of brainstorming different ways of, developing those, 5, 6, 7 touches to the customer before they'll buy. And
I guess my question would be: are y'all using a CRM that allows you to actually go over and look at what your sales rep is actually doing? If they propose something, visit them, propose something, they should write that down That way you can say, hey, you're talking about this too much. You need to try talking about the other services, or just sit down and ask them, here are some of the services we offer. Is there anything that we might be able to help you with? Because we would love the opportunity. And if not, leave a card and maybe follow up with them next quarter.
Sure, and actually, during some of these conversations, we actually, I actually picked up on the fact that the sales guy, he was, not, obviously I don't know what his, spiel is when he goes in, but, during our conversation, he said something about, talking to people and you find out they're happy with their phone system. It's like, well, that's the wrong question to ask. If you're trying to sell them hosted PBXs, admittedly, we also sell them internet and all kinds of other things if they're in our footprint. But, if you're trying to sell them the, hosted PBX, people are happy with their phone system unless it's broken. So unless you're in there the day it's broken or within a week afterwards, they're probably happy with their phone system because it's working. You need to sell it differently, because we're using a phone system that does far beyond just a basic desk phone, and obviously this is, would vary based on the type of business. This strategy wouldn't work on on an auto body shop, but going in and how are you dealing with people working from home or people out in the field or this or that, to try to gauge, okay, you're using a 30-year-old Meridian phone system that works, and you have people that work outside of the office just off of their cell phone. Well, hey, would it be nice if their extension at the office was also their extension on their phone? Like, sell them the same thing, but don't ask them are they happy with what they have, because
and I think that's what we've been doing here with phones lately, specifically, because actually most of our revenue comes from phone, believe it or not. We've been chasing Mitels that are, you can't get parts for, nobody knows how to work on them anymore. So we've been getting all these massive properties that had their own Mitel PBXs, or small charter schools and stuff that had small Mitel PBXs, and they can't service them anymore. So that's one of the ones we've been chasing.
Kind of going down that rabbit hole, kind of exposed, different. Of course, I'm probably about 4 tangents deep now, but it's useful stuff. One of the new customers, or new prospective customers likely to sign, he was actually interested in figuring out how to integrate the phone system with his existing, CRM system. It's like, okay, well, if it's got an API, we'll figure out what it would cost to integrate it, to do the, the screen pop-ups, when a customer calls, it pulls up all their records and stuff and all that, we can figure that out. Because then once you do one, well, then you just run through the franchise. Okay, every other company that uses the same system in the area, or whatnot. Hey, this is, are you looking to have XYZ? Something that, oh wow, this old Mitel, this old Meridian, there's no way they can do that. This is fancy. Yes, I want to do that. And so yeah, it's but what he was doing was just, are you happy with your phone system? It's like, well, no, it's, and he got a lot of sales from people that aren't, but it's like, you're going to run out of those.
Eventually.
Or try that once, and then don't try that on that same customer again, right? Like switch your tactic every single time you talk to them. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's why I said it's nice if you can track what you've asked them. That way you say, oh, I already asked them if they're happy with their phone system, or or if they're happy with their internet service, or if they have multiple locations and would like to have a continuous network provided for all of their locations and have one bill and stuff like that.
On the phone system stuff, actually have been getting more and more people. They're like, we're finding multi-location businesses where it's not like it's a bank where there's a lot of interlocation calling, where they probably already have something, even if it sucks compared to what we do. But like, we've had like auto shops or whatnot where they have more than one location. And it's like, well, we don't have to then have somebody answering the phones at both locations all the time. Bill can just keep turning the wrench, and then only stop if a customer walks up. But, Jim over at the other location, that's his job, is to answer the phone and do the service writing and stuff. So it's, finding those niches that like you couldn't do before. But to kind of, I guess, backpedal to where I was originally going, like some of the other things we're kind of tossing around, because there's mailers that, you've got to get them so that they'll actually open the darn thing. That's the biggest hassle with those. But we started to kind of think about putting together like little demos. If you're just doing basic internet, it's a demo is not really that useful. Hey, I have internet. Great. How do I know it's your internet? Like, I'm at a county fair selling internet. Well, great. It doesn't really matter. I can go to Facebook. But like, in like little clusters, like, finding, going around like existing customers that have a service, and then finding like the nearest 10 businesses and be like, hey, we're going to host a demo of this new thing that we're doing. And, like micro crowds, so you don't have to like over plan something. It's, 5, 10, 15 people. Hey, let's just come see how this works. At someplace, offer like a appetizers or light drinks or whatever. Food and drinks usually get people to show up. So give them some free food and drinks, and hey, come look at the way this thing works. So just something different than what they're already doing in terms of approaches to the customer. And so
that really reminds me of like when ISP Supplies puts on they'll bring in a vendor and buy lunch and drinks and have a little here's an explanation of our entire product portfolio and how you can use it. Just things like that.
That stuff never works on me, though. I'm too lazy. I don't want to get up and leave the comfort of my chair to go do something like that.
What's ironic is I'll drive down from Dallas to go to one of those that I supply, and you won't, and you live in College Station and won't.
Well, maybe you're cooler than me. Maybe I don't get the invites. You ever think of that?
I mean, you have a background with Steve, so
oh, maybe that's why. We got history.
But and so like on those little mini demo things, let's just taking like not the demo itself is cool, but then also like or a method, but then diversifying of where you're having them. Have them have one at the chamber office, have one at the hotel conference room, have one vary it up at prospective customers or prospective customer types. So that's like, hey, I'm gonna chamber, you wouldn't necessarily pay to rent their space, but at the hotel, hey, I'm gonna pay to rent one of your small meeting rooms for the day. I'm gonna demo this cool thing. Hey, how about you come look at this too?
That also gets you credit in the community too, because you're going to the thing. Hey, I'm actively trying to better the community. So when you invite all the the local businesses to something like that, it's like, hey, look, I'm trying to make things. I'm trying to solve problems. So and maybe you offer a feedback. Do you have any feedback for me? Things I could do differently or problems you have.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So circle back to the whole the main idea. Viewers, please throw out the different types of things that work for you. Or if it's something that's pretty common, don't just say a mailer. You know, what kind of mailer has worked for you? You know, are you mailing them a koozie, or are you mailing them, you know, an invitation to go somewhere else that you get some custom cool little designed thing? You know, some custom swag, or just, you know, kind of, you know, feedback. It's a bit more actionable than just I send them something in the mail,
I think
or
if you're looking
I get an ad on Facebook.
for something different too, like in Houston, we would have these things called, and I think they do them in Dallas as well. It's like the Texas Technology Summit. So, you know, just look for a target-rich environment where there's going to be a lot of companies, businesses sending IT individuals. Just get yourself a booth and you know, set up shop and try out all the things. You know, that way you could have your little mini phone system out there. You have your demo ready, you know, to flash in front of all these prospective customers. So even if they don't walk in there thinking, hey, I'm looking for a VoIP provider, you know, you might be able to sell them on something, you know, might be able to plant a seed, kind of get in their ear. But I think that would be kind of like target rich environment. But the other thing we found, like in the data center game, most of it came down to timing. You know, you just happen to touch base with them at just the right time when they're just about to start, you know, looking at this stuff. Because, you know, like with data center stuff, you can't just cold call somebody and say, hey, you happy with your data center? Like that kind of stuff never works. You know what I mean? You got to hit them at like, my contract's about to come up, or, hey, we're actually looking to move locations. So, you know, we're physically moving where all of our people sit, and we happen to have our servers here. This would be a good time for us to evaluate going into a co-location facility or something, right? So it's just, for us, a lot of that came down to really just plain and simple timing in there. And and I was thinking about with your sales guy, asking people if they're happy with their system. I think you're right. Maybe that works on some folks, but you got to dig a little deeper because you're either moving away from pain, or you're moving towards pleasure when you buy stuff. And so that he's trying to uncover some pain, but maybe it's pain that they didn't realize they had. Like you said, you know, everybody's moving remote. Wouldn't it be cool if they could just have their extension on their cell phone? Like, to me, that would be like, wow, yeah, that's killer. But unless you have that pattern, you know, you have that sense ready to pivot to something. I guess I could see that being a crutch if he just leans on the same phrase every time.
Yeah, and you know, to kind of go back to the CRM thing, you know, I could see, you know, to kind of combine those two things of, you know, you got to maintain, you know, what methods you use that would have, you know, or attempts to which types of, or, you know, which people specifically, but then, you know, run through your gamut of these different types of contact. So that way it's not him showing up all the time to make sure he's there as they're looking to, you know, move the data set, or, you know, move locations. But, you know, this group of people I go visit once a year in January. This other group of people in January, I do like a personalized email. This other group of people, I do a handwritten letter. This other group of people, like, you know, do many campaigns simultaneously, so that way everybody's getting something different every time you try to contact them, but yet you're still contacting them often enough where you get in that, you know, window of, oh, hey, we do need something. Yeah. Well, I guess, also not looking too predatory of, oh, hey, Metronet was just down, and now I'm getting an ad for, is your Metronet service down? I mean, it will work on some people, but some people it's going to be like, you're a jerk. But which Metronet's just coming to your town, Greg? Both Brian and College Station.
Oh yeah. I on your idea, I tried to reach out to those guys. So what I did is I reached out to the mayor of Bryan, and I got him.
Oh, I forgot I already talked to you about that.
Yeah, and I got in connection with that guy, talked to him back and forth, and he said, well, write a little blurb about what you do, and I'll forward it on to those people. If they're interested, they'll get back. And so that's not exactly the warm introduction I was looking for. So I gave it a swing, and I never heard back. You know, it's like I really wanted a warm introduction where I could start a conversation with somebody else, but, you know, so
That still reminds me. I need to see if there's fiber about 1,000 feet from my house up, and I can maybe talk the local municipality into letting me use one of their buildings as a demarc, and then hop down and actually get decent internet in my neighborhood.
Booyah! Sounds like you're
because AT&T tells me they have fiber in my town, but what they don't tell you is they don't have fiber on the power poles, and they're not gonna put it on the power poles in my town because especially the one in my backyard's about to fall over.
Well, I guess it just sounds like Colin's not busy enough, so he's inventing things for himself to do.
Well, the problem is my neighbors all know what I do for a living.
I don't fix your computer. That's what I always tell people. I cannot fix your computer.
No, they're saying, hey, you need to start an internet company, and we'd all buy internet from you because you at least know how redundancy works.
Yeah, you should say, well, I really don't want to hate you guys, so I don't think I want to sell you internet.
The sad part is we're thinking about moving in another year or two, and I'm just like, but here's the thing: if I start something now, then I have to come back to maintain it later.
Nice, get you some boots on the ground. You'll be fine. Call it best effort internet. Yeah. When I feel like it, net.
Best effort 100 megs. That's the name of the internet. We have one package, 100 meg symmetric. Best effort.
That'll work. You get what you get.
I mean, I think a lot of people would go with that.
Get what you get and don't
100
throw
meg
a fit.
symmetric.
There you go. I like it.
I think a lot of people would go after 100 meg symmetric versus a 250 down on 25 up service.
I would. I'd love 100 upload. Because that's what really annoys me. I never need a lot of download. I always need upload.
Yeah, my big thing is like when I try and upload VM images to the office, it takes forever because usually at that point in the day, my upload's not like 25 meg, it's like 3 meg.
Yeah, it sucks.
But a couple months ago, I was able to delegate to somebody else migrating of PBXs from an old virtualization platform to a new one, and they tried doing it at home first. Because it was basically ground up rebuild and then just backup settings, re-import settings, and but it was settings and voicemails and call recordings and whatever else and logs. So then some of these were 3, 4, 5, 6 gigs, which is fine to download, but if you've got insert big MSO here, you've only got 10, 15, 20 megs of upload, so good luck uploading that 6 gig, PBX backup in any reasonable amount of time. She did a couple of them that way. Took her way longer than she planned, and she's like, "Maybe it's worth it for me just to drive to the office, do this, and then drive home." And she did it one time. She's like, and she finished in like a sixth of the time. She's like, "All right, that's what I'm going to do."
She needs to RDP into her office workstation and do it that way.
Well, we are light in that regard. Everybody just has laptops they take with them wherever they go. I could set up a Windows box, I guess, on the VM cluster, and just that's what you use. But she figured out that, hey, I'll just go somewhere else. I'll go to the office where it's just click, done. So yeah.
Fair enough. All right, fellas, we are at $1.45. Let's pull the pin on this grenade.
To be fair, I'm a bit less.
All right, Mikey, if folks want to get a hold of you out on the internet, how would you have them do that? Let me do my impression really quick. I was going to do it earlier. Don't contact me. You can find me on patreon.com/thebrotherswisp. And ask everybody else there. Don't ask me. Is it pretty accurate?
That works.
Yeah. I didn't try the voice. I can't do the voice. So.
Oh yeah. No, it's doing the voice is a high risk global board. It's like, oh great, you did it, and nobody cares unless you nail it. Like if you get it perfect, then it's something.
Right.
But like nobody's gonna get it.
I can start calling your family members and asking them for money.
I mean, and they'll be like, okay, well, Mike Till doesn't have money. Great, okay.
Hey man, where's the money?
Uh-huh.
I was thinking a bit more aggressive this time, but you handled it
Oh,
well.
excellent. Well, I appreciate the compliment. Colin, if folks out on the internet want to get a hold of you, how would you have them go about that?
There's always the Brothers with Slack, or there's my podcast, or not my podcast, my blog at wirelesscomtech.com, which I haven't posted anything since the last time I was on the show, but maybe since I've got some downtime since I'm here in Florida, I might post some stuff about this Aruba switch I've been playing with that I drug all the way from Texas.
Nice. And that's com with
Just
2
play
M's,
with.
right? COMM?
Yes.
All right. You guys heard it here first. If you want to get a hold of me, you can email me, greg@gregsoul.com, or you can check out my blog, gregsoul.com, where I very regularly blog. You can also hit me at patreon.com/brotherswisp. You slide into my DMs. I'm pretty reactive. Man, you guys are killing it on there.
Yeah,
Answering this stuff. It's you guys are all over the place. You're doing the thing. If you just can't get enough of me and my ramblings, I'm also doing another podcast called Why Am I? I've got 2 listeners. One is re-listening to it myself, and then I've got Mike. So I'm very proud of those 2 listeners. And I be sure to go in and like my own videos because I'm that guy. No, I actually don't, but I really should. You gotta get those numbers up. You gotta pump those numbers. We are putting together some additional specific podcasts. So you guys asked for it. We're putting it together. I'm finally getting off my butt. There's a cool website called When Is Good. It's really ugly, but it's very functional and easy to use. You can send it to a bunch of people, and they all get to pick their times on their calendars, and you see how many people kind of overlap. So we're not going to be able to get everybody that wants to be on there, but we're going to try and get as many as we can. So hopefully you guys will hear some new stuff here pretty quick. I guess if you guys have any questions, comments, fire them away. Keep them coming. Let us know what you guys want to see. Any corrections. I was really overwhelmed by the amount of people that were interested in the GPON versus active Ethernet discussion. We had like two outsiders that I had never met before that are interested in popping in. So it'd be cool to like get some new voices. And I think we might actually hear Ollie's voice for the first time, which would be really interesting, I think. So I'm excited for that one. But I digress because I'm rambling like always. So thank you guys for your time. Mikey, Colin, appreciate it. And see everybody next time.
Later.
Yeah.
Go in here and stop on all this mess.